93, 93, 93. This is Amon Ashrenew from ashrenew.com. You already know. Just doing a quick little tap in, giving my analysis of the season of death. Now, of course, we are in the fall season. The moon is also in Scorpio, right? So if you want the exact measurements or mathematics, the moon has been in Scorpio since September 27th, Tuesday, September 27th. And it will end today, which is September 29th, at about 9 p.m. Western or Pacific time. So on the East Coast, that's about, I guess, 6, because we're behind. So no, that's actually 12. So about midnight tonight, East Coast. But only if you're on the West Coast, about 9. And the moon goes void, of course, in, let's see, about 12 p.m. So about in the next 6 hours. And it will be void, of course, for 9 hours. So in the next 6 hours, the moon will be in void, of course. And then the moon will be in void, of course, for the next 9 hours. So for those who don't know, when the moon is in void, of course, you definitely want to, fall back and be more meditative. Don't try to do anything you don't have to do, because things will be very chaotic when the moon is transitioning signs. So again, that'll be about the next 6 hours from now, and it's going to last about 9 hours, right? So I see you, Mon, too. What's up, 93, Mon, too? Oh, shit. What the fuck? Oh, shit. You see that zoom there? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. I didn't even know I can do that. Look at that. Oh, shit. Look at that. All right. Yeah, what's up, Mon, too? What's up, Keenan? What's up, Mary? Appreciate y'all. Salute to 93. Salute to 93. It's always love. It's always respect. I know it's early as fuck, I guess, in the West Coast. I guess, in the East Coast, it ain't that early, so. But, again, just wanted to tap in, the moon been in Scorpio, as I said. We in the death season. And, I don't know, I just been feeling real demonic. I don't know about y'all. I don't know, I've been feeling super fucking demonic. Like, this shit has been crazy as fuck. This shit has been crazy. I've been feeling so fucking demonic. Let me slow down. I don't know, it's like I've been a little bit too extra happy about being, I've been a little bit too extra. I've been ready to fucking summon all type of devilish shit. I've been a little bit too excited. But my moon is actually in Scorpio, I think, in my birth chart, in my natal chart. So my moon is actually in Scorpio. So not only is my sun in Scorpio, my moon is in Scorpio. I think my Mercury is in Scorpio. You know what I mean? Same navigating all this. Motherfuckers is funny. Navigate the underworld. Oh, buddy. Oh, man. It's like I've been a little bit too happy about this. Like, normally, I be trying to keep it low key, minding my own business with that. But yeah, recently it's like, oh shit. Just been waiting to pull out the magic tricks, right? Been waiting to pull out the magic tricks. But it's a good energy overall. Like, it definitely haven't had me depressed. It's like, yeah, I've been overly excited. Normally I'm a lot more mellow, a lot more smooth. But I've just been overly excited just to, just do some crazy demonic shit. When I was younger, this would be the time I would go out and do some graffiti. You know what I mean? But I guess I'm just trying to channel it more into the music now, trying to be more civilized. But it's not always that easy. Because we always have to cleanse out our karma, clear out our karma. And appreciate everybody for, tuning in to the Telegram channel, the daily tarot readings. I've been keeping it up, haven't missed a day. So I'm always pulling a card every day. So you miss going mobbing. But that's what I'm saying, we just gotta redirect the current. What am I talking about? Like I got spray cans right now. I'm not the one to talk. I'm not the one to talk. I got spray cans right now. I got spray cans in the closet right now. And it ain't nothing stopping. So, I don't think I'm ever gonna outgrow this. I don't think I'm gonna ever outgrow this shit. I'm not gonna ever outgrow this shit. And when I say that, I mean hip hop. And as we know, hip hop started in the underworld. So that's why I'm always making the correlation between, hip hop, the underworld, the clip off, Satan, devil, Lucifer. Because you can't really separate it from hip hop. People, I'm not gonna say people, they always have tried to make hip hop mainstream because it started in the underworld. So that's when the industry got a hold of hip hop. That's when it became commercial. That's when it became mainstream. But hip hop in its original manifestation, it was created by a bunch of gang leaders. Well, Africa Bambaataa was a gang leader. You know what I mean? Hip hop started in the street, so it was nothing but, dark currency all over the place. Hip hop is a manifestation. You can say the light that came from the dark currency. So we use this as a tool, you could say escape our demonic tendencies. Right? That's how I would sum it up. We just use hip hop to escape our demonic tendencies. So instead of trying to blow a person's head off, you just murder those beats. Instead of trying to cut up somebody's face, you just spray can or spray paint those walls. 93 Morbid Clown. Hoping everybody's having a great day. You hope everybody's having a great day. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Yeah, we know what's really going on. Yeah, this world is in chaos right now. They try to fuck us up. They try to fuck us up right now. Bambaataa reminds me of Crowley because it's a connection there. Well, you were on to something right there, Keenan. There's a connection there. It's a rush for sure, the whole experience, because that's who we are. We are the dark angels. They was behind Bambaataa. Oh shit, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. But yeah, there's a connection. Because remember, Bambaataa actually went to Egypt. Always remember, he actually went to Egypt. Just like Crowley actually went to Egypt. So Crowley got the Lima when he went to Egypt, just like Africa Bambaataa received hip hop when he went to Egypt. So that's why I say there is a connection. They both went to Egypt and then they received the revelations from Egypt that completely changed the world. So just like Crowley changed the underground, so did Africa Bambaataa, because they both went directly to the source. So it is a connection. Somehow when motherfuckers go to Egypt, this fucking shit change. When they go to the halls of Amenti, the shit change. So that's why 93, hip hop, like that's why I just do my best to make the connections, because there is a connection. There is no coincidence. Right? There is no coincidence. There is a connection. So hip hop is just as 93 as anything else, honestly. That's the whole thing. Meaning you really ain't hip hop if you don't really know about Crowley. Like there was no hip hop before Africa Bambaataa. Of course, people were already practicing the elements separately, but he was the one that brought it all together, just like Aleister Crowley brought the occult together. That's what makes Aleister Crowley different than anyone else, because he brought it all together. So what we call Western occultism today is the manifestation of all the elements being brought together. All, you could say, the elements of the dark side was brought together by Crowley. So all the elements were brought together by African Bambaataa. So somehow when motherfuckers go to Egypt, they're able to synchronize some shit. And then they're able to present it to the world in a way that makes sense. And that's able to change your life for the better. But again, this is the part of hip hop that never made it to the mainstream. It remained underground. So you're not going to ever hear, a mainstream artist, talk about Crowley. They may study him secretly. They may study these things secretly, but they're not going to talk about these things publicly. But as we see, there clearly is a connection. Both of these men had to go to the mother, the source, and then present it to the people. And it was able to liberate the people. That's why 93 was for the purposes of liberation, just like hip hop was for the purposes of liberation. But you see, it had to be organized because before that, it was chaotic. Like, for example, like Aleister Crowley, was a part of like the Golden Dawn, for example. Before he started the OTO, he was a part of the Golden Dawn. But he came to the realization, I got to start my own shit. Like, they're only going to take things so far here. This stuff is, you basically whitewashed at this point. This is like watered down. So he took it upon himself to start his own organization after he went to Egypt and after he got the downloads from, guess who? Awas, who gave him the book of the law. So obviously, Aleister Crowley wasn't a cultist before he received the book of the law, but it wasn't until he received the book of the law that he became what we know him to be today. Because before that, again, he was a part of a secret society, and it was just like a lot of other people. But what made him stand out was when he got that revelation from Awas when he went to Egypt with his wife at the time. His wife is who heard it first. That's the power of the divine feminine. That's why I always acknowledge the divine feminine and the divine masculine, because it was a divine feminine who put Crowley on. The divine feminine is who heard Horus. And then she brought it to Crowley. And then when he went to see, because they went to the Cairo Museum, they went to the Cairo Museum and searched for the stele of revealing. And when they found the stele of revealing, guess what the number was? Because all of the artifacts in the museum are numbered. It just so happened to be numbered 666. So when he calls himself the beast 666, it's because that was the number of the stele of revealing, right? And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, like, what the fuck are you talking about, the stele of revealing? Oh, I can show you right now what I'm talking about. Give me a second. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm giving y'all a quick little jewel, because this is what changed the game. This is what changed the game. Here we go right here. Here we go right here. This, this is the stele of revealing. All right. You can just type that in Google. It has the triple God on there. So when we read the book of the law, we know that the book of the law has 3 chapters. The first chapter is from Nuet, the second chapter is from Hadid, and the third chapter is from Raha Kued. Those are the 3 deities we see in the stele of revealing. You see Nuet at the top, you see Raha Kued on the throne, and you see Hadid as the globe with the wings. All right? So just giving you the history. So then we bring it up to hip hop and we bring it up to Africa Bambaataa, where he had to go to Egypt and he received hip hop. So he came back. So that's, how all of the Egyptian, you can say, glyphs even got into hip hop. Because you had groups like X Clan, you had super conscious groups, with all these Egyptian artifacts with the Ankh and all these, they were speaking about Egypt heavy. So the reason why Egypt is even a factor in hip hop was because of Africa Bambaataa. With nobody talking about no Egypt, just in the streets of New York, just because that was a thing to talk about. We're talking about in the 70s. The so-called conscious community didn't even get started to the late 80s. So you started seeing more people, get into Egypt in the late 80s with the invention of the conscious community, but we're talking about the early 70s. It was no reason for us to even be into Egypt, unless you were a scholar and that's just what you were into. Now, of course, the people were conscious, but we had no direct correlation or connection to Egypt. So if you were into Egypt, it's because you were just into Egypt. But in terms of this is a element where you can say a factor of hip hop, the basis of hip hop, it wasn't that deep. Again, until Africa Bambaataa and it begins to spread, because we know the 5th element of hip hop represents knowledge. So meaning you had to have knowledge to even hold the mic. You had to have knowledge to even break dance, as they call b-boying and b-girling. Break dance is the mainstream. Then to be a DJ, you had to have knowledge. And even to be a graph artist, because graffiti is also mainstream. You know, in the streets they called it graph or they called it bombing. But you had to have knowledge to even do any of these things, because you could say a regular artist, you know, just because they spray paint on walls don't mean they putting any type of messages on the walls. See, that's what separated, you know, the real from the fake. What separated the real from the fake is, okay, you know, you can spray paint, but what messages are you putting on the wall? Yeah, you can DJ, but what records are you playing? Yeah, you can dance, but what poses are you hitting? Are you tutting? And yeah, you can rap, but are you speaking knowledge in your raps? Are you speaking knowledge in your rhymes? Right? So that's what separated the real from the fake. So if you had activated the knowledge element, again, which we know comes from Egypt directly. So again, that'd be the point I'm trying to make. Like hip hop has a direct connection to Egypt. It's not a remote connection like many people. Many people study Egypt, like the scholars and all that. They just study it from the outside in. But hip hop has a direct connection to Egypt, just like hip hop has a direct correlation to Thelema. It's directly from the source. Just like Noble Drew Ali, who brought Islam to the West with the Moorish Science Temple, he went to Egypt directly and got that directly from the source. That's why they called him a prophet. So we see it's been occurring for quite some time now, where we have been receiving direct revelations directly from the source. Because Egypt is technically at the center of the planet, which is why the pyramids were built there. And really, the pyramids is you can say is the only one of the seven wonders of the world that's really just still standing. Of course, you have other wonders of the world, but you know they're not standing like the pyramids. So obviously, you can say that was the greatest creation that we have ever invented. So, to get knowledge directly from the center of the planet that we call the underworld, that we call the halls of Amenti, that we call the clip off, that we call the duat, to get the knowledge directly from the duat is an honor. That's what makes hip hop a culture. That's what makes hip hop, you know, something that essentially you had to be initiated into. You had to be initiated into hip hop, and that's still the case today. Because yes, you have a lot of artists, even though, you know, I say, you know, don't consider yourself an artist. Because that's why we considered ourselves MCs. We didn't call ourselves rappers now, did we? We called ourselves MCs. We called ourselves the master of ceremony. To be the master of ceremony, you can say that's directly from Kemet, because the master of ceremony not only was able to move the crowd, they was able to summon the dead. You can say that's a form of necromancy. So really, when you spit rhymes, your rhymes should be powerful enough to wake up the dead. Just like, you know, when we hear stuff like, you know, a hot nigga from Bobby Shmurda and you got gangsters dancing, it's because, you know, when the hardest of the hard lay down the game, lay down those bars, it should make anybody get up and want to move their body, right? Because that's what we're here to do. We're not just here to wake up the masses. We're here to wake up the dead. See, that's the main difference. See, yeah, let the rappers fuck with the mainstream and the people outside the culture, because that's where the money is. The money ain't really necessarily inside of the culture. The money is outside of the culture, from the people that's on the outside looking in. What's up, Ty? Salute to you. I'm wishing you the best of success. You know what I mean? My heart is with you. You know what I mean? Much success to you, right? So what I'm saying, the rappers want to entertain the masses, the people that are not a part of the culture. But when you are a part of the culture, you're directly trying to motivate the underground. You're directly trying to motivate the underworld. You're making your connection back to the duat. because that's where the culture is. That's where the culture is preserved. The culture is preserved in the duat. So that's why when you are an initiate of this culture, you want to do your history. You want to study the people that have went to Egypt and brought back the game. Again, the Noble Drew Ali's, the Aleister Crowley's, the Africa Bambatas, right? Because you want to know your history, especially if you feel a part of this. If you feel like this is your culture, this is your history, you have a direct connection to this. So of course you want to activate the spirits of the dead, meaning you're able to wake up the necro lords. Because when you wake up the necro lords, because we all must enter the duat eventually, whether in death or in the astral plane. But we all must enter the duat. And when you enter into the duat to make your journey back to the stars, it's up to you whether you become a legend or you have to reincarnate and do this over again. See, everybody has their place in the stars, but everybody doesn't take that journey because they get caught up with what we say the mainstream. You get caught up with the money, you get caught up with the glitz and glams. But we know when hip hop was still in the streets, hip hop didn't become mainstream. What's up, JD 93? Hip hop didn't become mainstream till 1979. Meaning hip hop was not even on record to 1979. The first hip hop record came out in 1979. So if hip hop was invented in 1973, that means for the first 6 years of hip hop, there were no records. There were no records. Now, people had recordings of the jams, because you had jams, you had the parties that people went to, and people recorded those parties, but you never had any records. There was not one single record. So when you heard a person rhyme, with the DJ was playing the music and playing the breaks so that people can, for the break dancers, the B-boys and the B-girls can dance, but also so the MCs can get on the mic and rhyme to the 4-beat. So the only way to even hear an MC, you had to go to a jam, and you had to have a DJ. Then when they spit their rhymes, you had to have something to say. Your rhymes had to be powerful. You wasn't speaking no mediocre rhymes. Now, of course, people always had mediocre rhymes, but it was a art. They did it artistically. So for 6 years, hip hop was not recorded. There was no hip hop records. All you had was recordings of the jams that occurred in the parks. Whether we want to call it the Bronx, whether we want to say it started in Queens, whether we want to say it started in Brooklyn, because hip hop has, you can say, many origins, right? So for the first 6 years, all you had was recordings of the jams. There was no records. So that's what made the jams legendary. That's when you had MCs like Grandmaster Cass with these incredible lyrics, with these incredible bars, ridiculous rhymes, because he had knowledge. These people were not foolish. These people were well educated. This is what I'm saying. So it was already people in the streets that knew their history. So when you had that Egyptian connection coming to the game, it just made it. So once you heard somebody lyrically rhyme, you wanted to match that currency. So if you hear somebody get on the mic and they're spitting knowledge, you're not going to go after them just speaking some party rhymes. You wanted to come with knowledge as well. So that's hip hop is what made people want to get in the books and study, because you wanted to have something to say on the mic. I know that's what happened with me. Like a lot of the reason why I began to educate myself, because I wanted to have something to say when I rhymed. Yeah, I did it for me and my own personal stuff, but I wanted to be able to say something when I rhyme. I'm like, I'm not just gonna be talking about basic stuff. I need to have something to say. So let me do my research, let me do my studies, let me see what was going on. So I wanted to have something to say. So as you see, every time I rhyme, every time I release a song, I make sure that I have something to say. Because I wanted to make sure like I'm not just mediocre with my rhymes. Like, let me make sure I'm saying something. Because that's when it's really hip hop. That's the difference between somebody just rapping than somebody being a master of ceremony. Because again, now you're reaching back into the past and you're speaking about things that have happened. And also you're reaching forward in the future because your lyrics are futuristic because you're giving new life to, you can say, dead energy. Energy in books and knowledge that people have forgotten about. Now you're giving it new life. So now instead of somebody wanting to pick up a book, now they want to listen to your rhymes. And if you use your rhymes correctly, now your rhymes are like a book. That is the new reading. That is the new book. So now you're not telling people, go read this book, go read this book. Now like, here, you can hand them your music. Listen to my music, right? What dynasty of Egypt had the lost occult significance? It's not about a particular dynasty, really. Because when we speak about the Lima isn't connected to a particular dynasty. The revelations that came directly from Awas isn't connected to a particular dynasty. It is just the arts, as we call alchemy. It's alchemy summarized. Because every dynasty of Egypt had the same culture. Now, of course, as it evolved, it became more whitewashed and mainstream. You know, once, you know, the Greeks began to come into Egypt, it began to change things. So basically, you can say the Lima represents the darkest of the dark, the original manifestation, going back to the old dynasty when the pyramids were built, right? So it's not necessarily about a particular dynasty. It's just about the culture itself. And we know the culture of Kemet is alchemy. So different dynasties just had a different way of conveying the knowledge. So for example, the mainstream knew about Osiris, you know, Isis and Horus. But before that, you had different guys like Set. Like before Osiris or Asar became mainstream, the main deity was Set, who was the older brother of Asar. He was the head honcho originally, which we now call the devil. So before he was a main, but then they changed the story, you know, to make it more mainstream, and then it became more about Osiris. But a lot of the attributes of Osiris or Asar really came from Set. Set had a lot of those attributes that we put onto Asar because that happened over time, right? So that's what I mean by the dynasties basically just changed just the story. That's really the only difference is. The only difference is as the dynasties evolve, the stories change. So instead of exalting the devil or the so-called devil, now they want to exalt the Christ. And that's what became the basis of Christianity because that became the basis of Gnosticism. Gnosticism is all about the Christ. Gnosticism is all about the followers of Haru. But before there was followers of Haru, you had the followers of Set or Sutek. So you can say that was the original manifestation. And as it evolved, it became more about the Christ. It became more about Asar. So that's why it's good to study all the dynasties if you want to study the dynasties, but you really don't need to. Again, if you're into the Lima has the deities already for you to study. So it all depends, you know, what type of literature you're into. So if you're into the history, if you're a historian, you can definitely study the dynasties. But then if you're more into the new age, you study the literature of the Lima, right? So just get into your Thelemic literature. Start reading the Libers, right? So if you're really into Aleister Crowley, read the literature. And that'll tell you everything you need to know without, you know, get lost in the historical facts. So the Lima is just a pure alchemy, right? That's why a lot of people don't read Crowley's works because you got to be based in the occult to even understand what he's saying. So that's why I always remind people you must memorize these things because you can't even read Aleister Crowley's literature if you don't even know this stuff. If you don't have a basis or a foundation in the occult, you're not even going to understand Crowley. That's why a lot of people don't understand him. That's why they really don't bring him up. They may criticize his lifestyle and what he did, but they're not criticizing that literature because they can't even understand the literature. Because the literature is not for, you can say, what do we call these people? Novice. You say neophytes, people that are just getting started. His works are not for those people. It's more advanced. It's very advanced because he was an advanced person. So before, again, he was already there. Before the book of the law was revealed to him, he was already in the game. He was already deep in the game. So again, a lot of people read the book of the law and they can't even comprehend what they're reading. Like you have to be acquainted with the tarot, the Hebrew alphabet, the Kabbalah. You have to already be acquainted with all these things to even comprehend what's being said. So when you are able to comprehend what's being said, now your hip hop is taken to new levels and new heights. And that's how all these things are connected, right? So with that, I'm gonna get up out of here, Sun is coming up. We're gonna get the kids off to school. I'll definitely check back with y'all a little bit later. You know what I mean? I was glad to tap in with y'all for this little bit. Y'all see me very soon. Hopefully everybody has, I'm not even gonna say have a good day. No, don't have a good day. The moon is in Scorpio right now. Honor death. Honor death. We coming up on the Day of the Dead. Honor the dead. Be that necromancer. Get into your necromancy. With that, I bear peace. Sorcerers. 93, 93, 93.